The vast galaxy lay silent, an infinite abyss occasionally illuminated by the cold light of distant stars. Aurora Prime, an outpost on the fringe of Vestran territory, shimmered with fragile beauty. Its massive crystalline structures reflected the light of the nearest binary stars, creating radiant ribbons of color. But tonight, the light was far from peaceful. Explosions echoed through the void as shards of crystal shattered under the relentless assault of Verkarian weaponry. The attacking fleet, its ships sleek and black as shadows, pressed forward without pause. Green energy beams from high-intensity plasma cannons tore through Aurora Prime's energy shields as if slicing paper. In the command center, Lyra stood tall, her luminescent wings drawn close to her back in instinctive tension under the pressure of the assault. Her glowing eyes scanned the control panels, rapidly analyzing the grim situation. Around her, Vestran officers scrambled, working desperately to keep the defenses operational, even though they knew their efforts could only buy a little more time. Main shields down to 23%, Commander, a technician reported, his voice heavy with despair. They'll breach in less than 2 minutes. Lyra didn't need more data to know what they were up against. The Verkarian fleet never attacked to negotiate. They left no survivors, wiping out any trace of resistance in their path. Aurora Prime wasn't just an outpost, it was a sanctuary for thousands of refugees from other conquered planets. "Prepare all evacuation vessels," Lyra ordered, her voice as sharp as tempered steel. "Prioritize civilians and non-combatants." "But Commander, we can't." "Do it now," she snapped, cutting the officer off. Her gaze shifted to the tactical map projected before her. The evacuation ships, represented as tiny blue dots, were gathering at the departure gates. But the advancing red markers, symbols of the Verkarian ships, were rapidly closing in, cutting off their escape routes. Lyra knew she had to do something unprecedented, something forbidden. Striding to the central console, she entered an emergency override code. A secure hatch slid open, revealing the quantum communication device, a piece of technology reserved only for the direst of circumstances. She hesitated for a moment. Vestran law strictly forbade calling for aid from unrecognized or alien civilizations, fearing it would expose vulnerabilities or lead to unforeseen consequences. But now, as Aurora Prime quaked under relentless bombardment, Lyra had no other choice. Placing her hands on the console, she entered a complex series of commands, activating the quantum transmitter. The device pulsed with a violet glow as her voice was amplified and sent out across the galaxy. "This is Lyra, commander of the Aurora Prime outpost of the Vestran people. We are under attack by the Verkarian fleet. If anyone can hear this message, we are pleading for assistance. We are out of time." Her desperate appeal echoed into the void, repeating across countless frequencies, racing through the vastness of space, piercing nebulae and crossing light years. But silence was the only reply. For a moment, Lyra felt despair creeping into her resolve. She had done everything she could, broken every rule, yet no one had answered. The last glimmer of hope seemed to fade. Outside, Aurora Prime's final shield collapsed. The Verkarian warships began concentrating their fire on the command center, aiming to paralyze all resistance. Lyra stared out the large observation window as green plasma fire lit up the night sky. An officer rushed to her side, his voice raw with fear. "Commander, the evacuation ships are being intercepted. We won't be able to get everyone out in time." Lyra clenched her fists, her glowing wings radiating with an unyielding resolve. "All remaining warships, focus fire on the enemy. If we must fall, we'll make sure they remember that Aurora Prime does not surrender easily." As she prepared to give the final command for a last-ditch counterattack, a faint beep sounded from the quantum transmitter. Lyra froze. The console lights flickered, indicating an incoming response. This is the exploratory vessel Celestial Voyager of the human race. We've received your distress signal and are en route. Hold the line. The voice was strong and calm, carrying an air of quiet confidence. For the first time, Lyra felt a flicker of light pierce the darkness surrounding her. But the question remained, would they arrive in time to save Aurora Prime from total annihilation? Inside the command center of the Celestial Voyager, the space was illuminated by the flickering glow of numerous control panels. On the main screen, a distress signal repeated over and over, every word ringing out like a desperate plea echoing through the silence. Captain Ethan Carter stood tall, his sharp blue eyes fixed on the holographic star map displaying the signal's location. Though his black and silver uniform radiated authority, his expression betrayed a clear inner conflict. This wasn't the first time he had faced such a situation, but each one carried its own unique risks. The signal is coming from the outer rim of the galaxy, reported Nadia, a young science officer deeply engrossed in analyzing the data. Aurora Prime, an outpost of the Vestran people. They're under attack by a force called the Verkarian. Verkarian? Carter repeated, his brow furrowing. Have we encountered that name before? Intelligence Officer Marcus stepped forward, scrolling through records on his console. The Verkarian are a militaristic empire, according to Galactic Union archives. They invade, destroy, and occupy planets indiscriminately. Recently, their activity has extended beyond our galaxy's borders. So, if we intervene, we're likely making humanity their next target, Carter remarked, crossing his arms as he pondered. A moment later, he turned to Nadia. What do we know about Aurora Prime's military capabilities? Nadia shook her head, her voice somber. From what we've gathered, it's primarily a research station and a haven for refugees. Their defenses are no match for a fleet like the Verkarians. The command center fell into a tense silence. Every officer present understood the gravity of the situation. Offering aid could mean putting their own lives and humanity's security at risk. But ignoring a distress signal in the vastness of space would go against the very principles humanity had upheld since joining the Galactic Union. Captain, Marcus broke the silence. This could be a trap. The signal might have been faked to lure us into an ambush. Carter turned to his longtime confidant, Sarah Blake, who had been quietly observing from the corner of the room. What's your take, Sarah? Sarah looked up, her calm but sharp brown eyes meeting his. I think the right decision isn't always the safe one. But if this signal is genuine, and we do nothing, thousands of lives will be lost. Carter took a deep breath, his shoulders tense. He knew that any choice he made would carry a heavy burden of responsibility. Having survived countless life and death missions, he understood the thin line between survival and annihilation in space. Yet, what ultimately swayed his decision wasn't just compassion but the belief that sometimes doing the right thing required transcending calculated strategy. Change course, he said decisively. Set a heading for Aurora Prime. But we won't rush in unprepared. The room sprang to life. Officers moved swiftly to execute the captain's orders, the control panels lighting up with streams of new data. Marcus, ready all weapons systems. Nadia, analyze the signal further. I want to be absolutely sure it's not a trap. Sarah, assemble the tactical team. If we need to deploy on the ground, I want us ready. Yes, Captain, the three responded in unison. The Celestial Voyager adjusted its trajectory, its engines glowing a brilliant blue as it accelerated toward Aurora Prime. Meanwhile, Carter entered the strategy room with his senior officers. On the large central screen, a 3D hologram displayed Aurora Prime and the surrounding Verkarian fleet, providing a detailed simulation of the battlefield. The Verkarian fleet consists of 8 heavy warships and 1 massive command vessel, Marcus said, pointing to the red markers on the map. They're equipped with long-range plasma cannons and reinforced energy shields. They've formed a crescent-shaped blockade, cutting off all escape routes. We can't engage them head-on, Sarah observed. The Voyager is well equipped, but it's not a battleship. Exactly, Carter agreed. We'll need to act with precision. He pointed to a location on the map, a dense nebula several astronomical units away from Aurora Prime. This nebula is thick with gaseous clouds. If we approach from here, we can conceal our movements and infiltrate the battlefield unnoticed. Sarah frowned. If we're detected, there'll be no way out. That's why we'll need a backup plan, Carter said, turning to Marcus. Prepare to disguise our ship's signal as space debris. If necessary, we'll make it look like we're just a drifting wreck to confuse their sensors. Nadia chimed in, her voice tinged with optimism. We could also use the original distress signal to create interference in their communication systems. It might delay their response when we make our move. Carter allowed himself a small smile. I like the creativity. Do it. As the officers left the room to prepare, Carter lingered, staring at the holographic map. He knew this decision wouldn't just shape Aurora Prime's fate, it could define humanity's future. Taking a deep breath, he clenched the metal pendant around his neck, a keepsake from his father, who had taught him that courage wasn't the absence of fear but acting despite it. We can't predict the future, he murmured to himself, but we can choose how we face it. The celestial Voyager surged forward, plunging into the vast darkness of space, carrying a fragile yet unyielding hope. A bold decision had been made, and now, everything depended on skill, courage, and a bit of luck to overcome the challenges ahead. Celestial Voyager had just emerged from the dense nebula, and the scene ahead left the entire crew breathless. Aurora Prime, once a shining outpost with glittering domes, was now being consumed by intense red flames. Tall buildings had collapsed, billowing smoke into the sky, while countless refugee ships struggled to escape the relentless pursuit of the Verkarian warships. Did we arrive too late? Nadia whispered, her eyes welling up as she watched the devastation before them. Not yet, Carter responded, his voice cold and resolute. He turned to Sarah. What's the situation? Sensor systems have confirmed that 8 Verkarian warships are hunting down refugee ships. A few have been shot down, and the rest are trying to outrun the enemy but have no chance. Sarah scanned through the data, her expression darkening. Aurora Prime, there are no signs of any defense left. Marcus chimed in, pointing to the display showing the battlefield layout. The Verkarian ships are operating in a hunting formation. They're focusing on unarmed ships, deliberately targeting civilians to spread fear. Carter clenched his teeth. We're not going to let that happen. He pointed to the screen, giving orders. Activate light energy technology. Focus fire on the Verkarian ships pursuing the refugees. Nadia, ensure our energy shields are up, I don't want any hits breaching our defenses. Sarah, coordinate the refugee ships. Get them to the safe zone, away from Verkarian's reach. Captain. Light energy technology was the cutting-edge weapon Voyager had just been equipped with, a high-intensity, focused light cannon capable of piercing even the thickest plasma armor. However, it required precise calculations and could only be used in critical situations due to its enormous energy consumption. The ship's side cannons swiftly adjusted toward the targets. The targeting system locked onto a Verkarian warship chasing a small refugee ship. "Target locked," Marcus reported. "Range is within limits." "Fire!" Carter commanded. A brilliant burst of white-blue light tore through the darkness of space, striking the Verkarian warship. The explosion was instant, sending the ship into a cloud of debris, with the light spreading like a firework. "The first ship is down," Marcus reported, his voice tinged with excitement. "Don't stop," Carter ordered. "Keep locking targets and protect those refugee ships." Under Carter's command, Voyager maneuvered through the chaotic battlefield. Continuous light energy blasts shot out, eliminating Verkarian warships one by one with deadly precision. Meanwhile, Sarah used the ship's communication system to guide the refugees to the designated safe zone. "We're drawing attention," Marcus warned as several Verkarian ships began to change course, focusing their fire on Voyager. "That's exactly what I want," Carter replied, his eyes shining with determination. "Activate defense mode. Nadia, track the movements of the Verkarian flagship. We'll take out their command center if needed." Suddenly, one of the largest Verkarian warships turned toward Voyager, launching a series of plasma cannon shots. The scorching energy beams raced toward the ship, colliding with Voyager's shields, sending blinding flashes of light across space. "Our shields are weakening," Nadia shouted. "Hold the line," Carter ordered, his gaze never leaving the display screen. "We're not letting them through." In the critical moment, Marcus deployed a series of decoy weapons. Glowing bait fragments were launched, distracting the Verkarians' plasma fire. "Target their largest ship," Carter commanded, his voice sharp. "If we take it out, the rest of their fleet will lose morale." Voyager's light energy cannons concentrated their fire, creating a beam stronger than ever before. This time, the attack was aimed directly at the Verkarian flagship. Its energy shields held for a few seconds before shattering, leaving the ship completely vulnerable. "Fire the final salvo," Carter shouted. The second, blinding burst of light shot toward the flagship, triggering a massive explosion that shook everything around them. The remaining Verkarian ships, now without leadership, began to retreat from the battlefield in chaos. "Primary target is destroyed," Marcus reported, his voice trembling with excitement. Carter sighed, his shoulders easing with the weight lifted. "Continue escorting the refugee ships to the safe zone. I want to make sure no one is left behind." The battlefield began to quiet. In the dim light of the burning Aurora Prime, the small refugee ships, guided by Voyager, left the danger zone. Though they had won the battle, Carter knew this was just the beginning. Verkarian wouldn't let this defeat slide, and humanity was now firmly in the sights of a terrifying enemy. But for this moment, he allowed himself to savor the victory and the pride of having saved countless innocent lives. "We did the right thing," Sarah said softly, standing beside him. Carter nodded, his eyes still fixed on the vast expanse of space ahead. But the war is far from over. In the main meeting room of Voyager, the air was thick with tension as the human crew faced the Vestran engineers. Lyra stood at the center, her glowing wings faintly reflecting the room's lights, exuding both majesty and mystery. Despite the gratitude she felt for Voyager's timely arrival, her gaze was filled with skepticism. "We don't have many options," Lyra said, her voice light yet firm. "Aurora Prime has fallen, and if we don't find a way to strike back, Verkarian will continue to expand their influence." Carter crossed his arms and leaned against the conference table, his eyes never leaving Lyra. I agree. But the question is, why do you think working with us will make a difference? Your technology clearly outpaces ours in terms of energy, but it still failed against Verkarian. One of the Vestran engineers, Yenner, stepped forward. He was tall and slender, his sharp green eyes gleaming with intellect. He placed a spherical object on the table, its surface glowing with a pale blue light. This is an energy amplification crystal, the heart of Vestran technology, Yenner explained. It has the ability to focus and amplify energy on an exponential scale. But its biggest weakness is its reliance on fixed transmission circuits, making movement and protection difficult. Sarah leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. But if we combine it with our cloaking technology, we could create a system that's both powerful and maneuverable. Yenner nodded, a hint of surprise on his face at her understanding. Exactly. Your cloaking technology is based on signal dispersion, something Vestran has never studied in depth. If we combine these two technologies, we could create a weapon or defense system that Verkarian won't see coming. Carter looked around the room, his gaze settling on each member of his team. All right, we'll work together. But let's be clear, we're not pawns in your game. Every decision will need to be unanimous. Lyra nodded, her wings fluttering slightly, casting a soft glow. We don't intend to control you, Captain Carter. We just want to survive and if possible, to win. The collaboration wasn't easy. In Voyager's lab, Vestran engineers and the human team worked tirelessly, trying to combine two technologies that differed not only in structure but in philosophy. This crystal principle is too unstable, Marcus grumbled as the conduit of a prototype exploded, sending a burst of sparks flying. If we don't find a way to stabilize it, it'll blow the whole ship up before it does anything useful. Yenner stepped forward and placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. That's why we need you. Your cloaking system creates a self-balancing energy network. If we can connect these two systems harmoniously, the issue will be solved. Marcus muttered something under his breath but ultimately continued his work. Meanwhile, Lyra and Carter spent most of their time in the command room, discussing how to deploy the system once it was complete. Verkarian isn't just strong in numbers, Lyra said, pointing to a 3D strategic map. They have the ability to analyze and react to any threat in record time. We need to strike fast, hard, and unexpectedly, before they can respond. Carter nodded, deep in thought. That's why we need the system to work not only well but also be easily deployable. Once we strike, we won't get a second chance. After several days of testing and adjustments, the system was finally complete. In the testing chamber, a large crystal orb was connected to Voyager's cloaking system. When activated, the orb emitted a brilliant light but caused no interference. Sarah checked the data on the screen. Energy output has tripled, and the cloaking system is still stable. This is a breakthrough. But the important thing is how it performs on the battlefield, Carter reminded her. He turned to Lyra. We have an opportunity to test the system. Do you have any information on recent Verkarian activity? Lyra nodded. There's a small Verkarian supply station on the edge of this galaxy. It's not heavily guarded, but if we succeed, it will be a serious blow to their morale. Carter glanced around at his team, his eyes filled with determination and trust. Good. Prepare the ship. We're going to show Verkarian that we're not just good at defense. On the battlefield, the new system worked like a miracle. As Voyager approached the Verkarian supply station, the cloaking system was activated, masking every trace of the ship from their sensors. By the time Voyager appeared, it was in the perfect position to launch a devastating attack using the amplified energy from the crystal. The brilliant beam from the new system completely destroyed the supply station in just a few seconds, leaving Verkarian in shock. The Verkarian warships tried to retaliate, but Voyager vanished from their sensors almost immediately, leaving the area without sustaining any damage. This was a victory not just in tactics but in morale. For the first time, Verkarian realized they were not an invincible force. On the ship, Lyra looked at Carter with a mixture of gratitude and respect. "Perhaps we underestimated you. Your creativity and adaptability are truly remarkable." Carter smirked, but his eyes remained cautious. "This is just the beginning. If we're going to defeat Verkarian, we'll need more than just a weapon. We'll need strategy, determination, and above all, unity." Lyra nodded, her wings fluttering gently in the dim light of the command room. "And you won't be alone in this fight." In the command room of Voyager, the light from the three-dimensional map of the Death's Dusk Nebula filled the space. This nebula wasn't just a vibrant swirl of purple, gold, and green, it was a true wasteland. Powerful radiation beams, toxic gas whirlpools, and unstable magnetic phenomena had turned it into a deadly maze that no ship had dared to traverse. Lyra stood beside Carter, her eyes intently focused on the map. Her wings, usually glowing brightly, now emitted a faint light, reflecting the seriousness of the situation. "The Death's Dusk Nebula," she said, her voice dropping. "Our legends say this is the tomb of an ancient civilization, but it's also the end for anyone who dares challenge it. Then why did Verkarian choose this place for a base?" Sarah asked, her fingers scrolling through a series of data. "The radiation here is strong enough to destroy most equipment, even the most advanced technology." "That's exactly why," Lyra replied. "Verkarian chose this place because no one would think a base could survive in such an environment. It's completely out of reach for any enemy, at least, until we have the unified system." Carter lightly tapped the map, pointing to an area near the center of the nebula. "If the data from our intercepted signals is correct, this is Verkarian's central operations location. But the only way to get there is through the radiation corridors where the magnetic fields constantly shift, making normal navigation systems useless." Yenner entered, carrying a small spherical device with faint lines of light running across its surface. "This is the navigation device based on the energy-amplifying crystal technology we just developed. It can absorb and adjust the surrounding radiation energy, transforming it into a form that stabilizes the ship. But this is only a temporary solution. If we can't pinpoint the exact location, entering the nebula will be like heading straight into hell." "Then we need a strategy," Carter said, turning to his crew. "Sarah, you and Yenner work on optimizing the navigation system. Marcus, double-check the ship's defense systems. We don't know what's waiting for us in there, but I want Voyager ready for any situation." Lyra stepped forward, her eyes full of resolve. "And I'll provide you with data from the Vestran scout ships that attempted to enter the nebula. Although no ship ever returned, the final signals they sent could give us a better understanding of its structure." 3 days later, Voyager approached the edge of the nebula. Outside the ship's observation window, the scene was chaotic, a storm of light and darkness. Swirling gas currents moved like giant dragons, while occasional streaks of green lightning tore through space. Carter stood in the command room, his voice commanding. "Activate the crystal navigation system. Sarah, keep the ship in stealth mode. If we're detected, there won't be an escape." Lyra looked at him, her eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. Carter, I must remind you that once we enter the nebula, all external communication will be cut off. If we fail, no one will know we were here. Carter smirked faintly. I know. But if we don't try, we'll never uncover Verkarian's secret. As Voyager entered the nebula, all the sensors began emitting warning signals. The radiation relentlessly attacked the ship's defense systems, causing small but ominous explosions. Sarah quickly adjusted the settings to balance the energy, while Yenner monitored the crystal device. We're only 20 units from the central area, Sarah reported, her voice tense. But the defense energy is depleting. If we don't leave soon, the ship won't last. Increase speed, Carter ordered. We don't have time to hesitate. Suddenly, a strong signal appeared on the screen. It was a Verkarian patrol ship, emerging from one of the gas whirlpools. We've been detected. Marcus shouted. Their ship has locked onto us. Keep the ship in stealth mode. Carter commanded. We can't fight them in this state. Sarah, activate the energy feedback system. If they attack, we'll use the nebula's radiation as a shield. Lyra stared at the screen, her wings fluttering. This is why Verkarian chose this place. The nebula isn't just a natural shield, it's a weapon. They've become familiar with every danger here. Then let's show them that we know how to use it too, Carter replied. Yenner, direct the energy flow from the crystal into the radiation field. Turn it into a counterwave. The crystal amplification system powered up, emitting a powerful beam of light. As the Verkarian ships fired at Voyager, the energy from the radiation waves was redirected, creating a strong retaliatory wave that struck back. The Verkarian ships were thrown back, some destroyed instantly. We've cleared the way. Sarah yelled, her voice a mix of excitement and tension. Move forward now. As Voyager pushed deeper into the nebula, a massive structure gradually became visible. It was Verkarian's main base, a superstructure with enormous energy towers radiating bright red light. But just as the crew began to feel a sense of hope, a series of unusual, strong signals appeared. That's not a regular warship, Lyra said, her voice filled with concern. This is something else. A technology far beyond our understanding. Carter gripped the helm, his gaze unwavering. Whatever they are, we'll uncover Verkarian's secret. Prepare for battle. The dying Sun Nebula, once a deadly landscape of radiation and invisible energy whirlpools, had now become the stage for a fateful battle. Amid the chaotic darkness of poisonous gas bands, a massive structure loomed like a black star, swallowing every beam of light within the space. This was Verkarian's central control station, a floating fortress amid an ever-shifting magnetic energy grid. Lyra watched the main screen aboard the Voyager, her heart tightening. This control station was not only a strategic base but also the site where Verkarian was developing an unprecedented weapon of mass destruction. Data received from surrounding signals indicated that the energy source within the station had the power to obliterate an entire planet in mere minutes. This was the secret Verkarian had long kept hidden. We don't have much time, Lyra said, her voice serious. If this weapon is activated, not just Aurora Prime, but our entire galaxy will be annihilated. Carter stood tall, his eyes resolute. Then we'll have to destroy it here and now. Marcus, prepare all weapons. Sarah, find a way to contact our fleet in the nebula. Lyra, you'll command the Vestran forces to assist us. Lyra nodded, her wings glowing brighter as she sent a signal to the Vestran allies. In those moments, any lingering doubts between their two species vanished, replaced by a united front against a common enemy. As Voyager led the fleet into the heart of the control station, they were immediately detected. Verkarian warships emerged from energy portals on the station's surface, creating a net of ambush with no escape route. Lyra, standing in the command room, quickly ordered the Vestran ships to form a defensive crescent formation, while Voyager led a direct assault. "We need to create an entry point into the station's core," Carter said, staring intently at the radar screen. "Its defense system is unlike anything we've encountered before. Marcus, target the energy columns on the surface. If we destroy them, the station will lose part of its shield." Marcus nodded, his hands moving quickly over the controls. The light cannons on Voyager fired, sending brilliant beams of energy cutting through the darkness. The energy columns on the control station shuddered, some destroyed outright, causing explosions that dazzled the observation screens. But just as they thought they had made a breakthrough, an unexpected signal appeared. Sarah shouted, "A massive energy source is concentrating within the station. They're activating the weapon." "We need to stop them now," Carter said, his voice firm. "Marcus, keep up the bombardment. Sarah, find a way in for a boarding team. Lyra, you and I will lead the assault team." Lyra turned to Carter, her eyes wide with surprise. "You're going to join the mission? This is a suicide mission." "This is our only chance," Carter said without hesitation. "If that weapon activates, no one will survive." A small assault team, including Carter, Lyra, and elite warriors from both species, quickly infiltrated the control station through a breached entryway. Inside, the station resembled a labyrinth of corridors glowing with red and orange energy, reflecting its instability and danger. Lyra led the way, her wings glowing brightly enough to light the dark corners. Using Vestran sensor technology, she pinpointed the energy core's location. "We're getting closer," she whispered. "But the protective signals here are very strong. They might have set a trap." No sooner had she spoken, a swarm of Verkarian battle drones appeared from the surrounding walls, charging toward the assault team. The warriors immediately opened fire, using both human and Vestran weapons to fend them off. Lyra soared up, her wings emitting powerful beams of light that blinded the drone's sensors, giving Carter and the others the chance to destroy them. "We can't waste time here," Carter said, his breath heavy. "Lyra, you lead the way. Marcus, keep the rest of the team behind." They pressed on, eventually reaching a massive room, the station's command center. There, they saw Verkarian's doomsday weapon, a colossal energy core, rotating within force fields, emitting an eerie black light. Surrounding the core were Verkarian engineers and soldiers, protected by automated gun towers. "We need to destroy the energy core," Lyra said, her eyes filled with determination. "But the protective field is too strong. We need to destroy the control columns first." While the other warriors cleared the path, Carter and Lyra focused on taking out the control columns. Beams from their weapons intersected with the sparks from explosions, creating a dazzling yet deadly display. When the final control column was destroyed, the protective field around the energy core weakened, exposing it. "Marcus, this is our chance," Carter shouted over the comms. "Launch every missile from Voyager into the station right now." As the assault team withdrew from the station, Voyager fired its full missile arsenal. The explosions shook the control station, and ultimately, the energy core detonated, sending a blinding burst of light throughout the nebula. The control station vanished into the darkness, taking Verkarian's weapon of destruction with it. As Voyager and the Allied ships emerged from the nebula, Carter and Lyra exchanged a look, their eyes tired yet brimming with the joy of victory. This was not only a victory in battle but a testament to the unity between two distinct species. "We've won," Lyra said softly, her voice full of emotion. "But this is just the beginning. Verkarion is not fully defeated yet." Carter nodded, his gaze shifting to the window, where the nebula's light had now grown calm. "They will return. But next time, we'll be ready." The new alliance between humanity and the Vestran was not just a political agreement, but a commitment built on the foundation of survival, trust, and hope. On the planet Aurora Prime, where the scars of war were still visible, representatives from both species gathered under a deep purple sky, sparkling with stars as if witnessing a historic moment. Lyra, with her glowing wings, stood before the human representative, Ethan Carter. Both of them bore the marks of the battles they had fought, Lyra's armor scorched from the heat of battle and a new scar running down Carter's cheek. But their eyes were filled with determination and resolve. "We have defeated a threat together that neither of our species could have overcome alone," Lyra spoke, her voice resonating like a song. "Now, we must look further, not just to protect what we have, but to explore what we have yet to discover about this vast universe." Carter nodded, his voice deep but strong. "This alliance is not just a merging of technology or military tactics. It is the unity of two species who have learned to understand each other through adversity. We will not only face the dangers out there, but open up opportunities we have never imagined." The alliance began with the sharing of knowledge and technology. Vestran engineers and humans worked side by side in research facilities orbiting Aurora Prime. Vestran's energy crystal amplification technology was integrated with human warp drives, creating a new navigation system capable of crossing regions of space once thought impassable. In a massive laboratory aboard the celestial Voyager, Sarah and a Vestran engineer named Tarlis worked together on a new signal detection device. "It doesn't just detect energy signals from distant star systems," Tarlis explained, his three-fingered hands skillfully adjusting the crystal circuits. "It can also analyze spatial fluctuations that we've never been able to understand." Sarah looked at him, her eyes shining with curiosity. "You mean, we could find life forms or structures neither species has ever known?" Tarlis smiled, his eyes glowing softly. "Not just find them, but communicate with them." Their work didn't stop at technological devices. Mixed exploration teams were formed, with members from both species. The first missions took them to pristine planets near Aurora Prime, where massive crystal forests glowed under the sun, or gas-blanketed oceans covered by electromagnetic storms. Each discovery brought lessons and awe, while also strengthening the bond between the two species. But not everyone embraced this change. At a council on Earth, some leaders opposed the cooperation with the Vestran. "We're sharing our most advanced technology with a species we only met a few weeks ago," one general strongly protested. "Who can guarantee they won't turn against us?" Carter, standing in the center of the council, remained unfazed. "They've had the opportunity to do that, but they chose to stand by us. We cannot build the future on doubt and fear. This is the time for us to transcend our limits and move forward together." His words, along with evidence of the groundbreaking progress the alliance had brought, finally convinced the majority. Though there were still voices of opposition, the alliance between humans and the Vestran continued to strengthen. In an official ceremony on Aurora Prime, Lyra and Carter represented the two species in signing a permanent cooperation treaty. Beneath the starry sky, thousands of representatives from both species stood as witnesses, alongside countless spaceships hovering above. "The memory of war will always remain," Lyra said, her voice rising like a sacred song. "But it will remind us that only through unity can we overcome the greatest shadows." Carter stepped forward, taking her hand in a symbolic gesture of harmony. "We are not just allies, we are companions on a journey to uncover the mysteries of the universe." The crowd erupted in applause, blending with the sound of the Vestran wings flapping rhythmically in the air. In the years that followed, the Alliance continued to bring remarkable achievements. A new ship, named Unity, was built with the cooperation of both species. It was not only a technological marvel but also a symbol of hope and unity. The first mission of Unity was to explore an uncharted region of space, where mysterious signals from ancient civilizations echoed across time. On the command deck, Lyra and Carter stood together, gazing out the window. The stars ahead seemed to shine even brighter, promising new adventures, discoveries beyond every limit. "We don't know what lies ahead," Lyra said, her voice filled with emotion. "But we'll face it, together," Carter replied, a gentle smile on his face. And with a brilliant flash, Unity launched forward, carrying the hope, courage, and aspirations of both species, heading toward the mysteries of the vast, unexplored universe.